I'm here to announce an exciting new venture and partnership with Brightidea, between Brightidea and the Bono Group. And we're going to be talking about innovation management, innovation ideation, and ways of helping you bring innovation into your company in a much more efficient, effective, productive, and creative way. Our title of this is Thinking as a Barrier to Innovation and Productivity. As I said, we've got a new winning partnership with Brightidea. Paul Tran and I have been working on this together, and we're very excited about what we can do with this in terms of taking, being able to pull people in from all over the world, wherever they're located, from remote locations, into the process via the software that they have, as well as introducing people to the thinking tools that we train with and we use face-to-face with people. What you're going to see in this is a blended integration of two very powerful tool sets. The innovation management software, innovation suite that Brightidea has developed, as well as the De Bono thinking methodology that we have trained worldwide with. This gives you some inclination of what we're about in terms of what we do. You'll see here the three key arenas that the innovation suite has. It has an ideation process, it has a proposal process, as well as an innovation project process. And what we intend to do with this is begin to integrate the De Bono thinking methods, particularly 6 thinking hats, as well as the lateral thinking tools, into each one of these key arenas and processes. So on the front end of the process, you'll see ideation, and you'll be much more disciplined as a way to ideate. We're given the parallel thinking methodology, 6 thinking hats, and some of the lateral thinking tools. You'll be able to develop proposals and really begin to kind of pull them together in a collective way, a way that people really agree on and can see the maximum potential for each of the proposals, and then actually managing the projects. And we all know that sometimes things get bumpy along the way, and what you'll see happening is that, particularly with 6 thinking hats, as a way to help people manage the thinking process along the way, manage the action process in terms of the innovation projects. So this is the key integrating slide, if you will, in terms of the whole piece. I'm going to talk a few minutes now about the whole notion of thinking as a skill and the particular thinking tools that we have, aka De Bono thinking methods. What we're going to be talking about now is thinking as a barrier to innovation and productivity. This was a particular convocation that I led at Babson College a couple of years ago, when we really began to hone in the whole notion of the way people think as a barrier to innovation and productivity. And what we got, though, is to take a look at the whole notion of the way we presently think. The way we presently think, based on the notion of the Greeks, we've got the Greek tradition of thinking. John has an idea about the way something ought to work. Mary has an idea about the way something ought to work. And let's just say there's a lot of money on the table in terms of the difference of those two ideas. In an ideal world, what we're supposed to come up with is synthesis. This is what the Greeks taught. Now, we're not trying to throw out what the Greeks have taught us. What we are trying to point out, though, is the limitation, in a way, if you will, of the design methodology that this particular system of thinking does not provide. In any case, John has an idea about the way something ought to work. Mary has an idea about the way something ought to work. They're disagreeing over that, and more often than not, what that does is create winners and losers. It's unusual for us to have synthesis. So we've got a very limited design. We've got a very powerful technology in terms of helping you analyze what is. But it's not a design methodology. Let me say that again. It's not a design methodology. So what we're going to be talking about now is helping you move from this to something very different. But before I do that, let me illustrate another use of this particular piece here. We've all been in meetings. I can see you rolling your eyes now. One more exciting meeting and trying to make a decision in that meeting about some sort of innovation project that you're kind of moving toward and you're excited about. Everyone has an idea. Everyone has input into that process. And that's fine. And often what we have found in that is that the person with the clearest idea wins. Mary puts out an idea and people look at that and say, wow, that is just fantastic, let's do that. Can we go now? Another thing that often happens in a meeting is that sometimes the person with the loudest voice wins. That the longer the meeting goes on, so-and-so just keeps going, and the loudest gets louder, the voice gets louder, and people just finally give up. They concede, they say, fine, you can have it. Or it's the case that the person with the most power wins. That, we've probably all heard this, we're going to do it this way, do you understand? And people say, that's fine, why do we have a meeting? So we can see the negative consequences of that, and obviously in this particular methodology here too, everyone has a different perceptual screen around need. Everyone has a different perception of need. And that includes what happens up here between John and Mary. So John has an idea, John has a perception of reality, Mary has a perception of reality, and they're different. And what we've got here very often is competing perceptions of what reality is. So what we want to show you how to do to overcome this is to learn how to think in parallel with each other as opposed to adversarially. So we're going to learn how to think in parallel with each other as opposed to adversarially. So instead of competing, if you will, at the table, we're going to be taking our differing perceptions of what reality is and pouring them in a parallel way, so in effect we get more productive in less time and are more creative in what we do. You know, it's a powerful thinking technology. I'm aware sometimes people just aren't aware of the way they think. If I ask you sometimes, I said, if you had particular innovation projects that you're taking a look at, and you said, you know, identified what those thinking innovation projects were, and then you begin to say, and I said to you, well, what particular thinking tools might you be using for that? And you might look at me sort of puzzled and not really sure about that. So we're going to be talking about this whole notion of thinking tools and developing thinking as a skill. We need some new thinking. Einstein talked about that, has talked about that. Problems today will not be solved by the same thinking that's produced them in the first place. We need new thinking. And these have to do with the tools developed by Dr. Edward de Bono. Edward is the world's leading authority on conceptual and creative thinking, nominated for the Nobel in Economics in 2005. About 1 million people have been trained worldwide in this. And one of the exciting things we find about this is that it's not bound by culture. That's one of the really exciting things about the thinking tools. All the tools, by the way, are based on the way the mind actually works. De Bono is a physician by training. He did his research on the way the mind works at Oxford. One of his first books was a book called Mechanism of Mind. And out of that he got interested in the whole notion of creativity and what he coined the term lateral thinking. ROI. What are the results of introducing parallel thinking, lateral thinking to corporations? Here are some good illustrations of what happens. People save time and people make money. And that's a bottom line issue. Whether it has to do with reducing conflict in the boardroom and helping people make a $3 billion decision in one day using 6 thinking hats, or whether it has to do with reducing meeting time by 81% as JP Morgan Chase did, or a $30 million saving per year in the development of Kevlar by DuPont. So there are a variety of applications in terms of the use of the tools, but the bottom line again is it's about ROI. Quick history of thinking. We grew up with this, most of us in school, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. It's a 2,400-year-old tradition of thinking. Analysis and critique is the basis of it all. We're not trying to throw that out in a very similar way or a parallel way. What we're really trying to do is to complete the wheel set of the car. Imagine your company, imagine your people as a powerful car with a powerful engine. You're the driver of the car. What you're really trying to do is to maximize the output of the car, maximize the horsepower, if you will, of the car. But let's also suppose you've got one excellent wheel. Well, you know that wheel only takes you so far. It can only go so far with that one wheel. What we're going to show you how to do is to build a full wheel set of the car. One wheel with parallel thinking, another wheel with lateral thinking, another wheel with the perception broadening tools. What we're talking about here now with these 6 thinking hats is we've got the hat as a thinking process. It's a signal in terms of the thinking process. So we use the colors of the hats. The mind knows exactly what to do given the nature of the hat and given what the particulars of the hat are. So we expand ourselves essentially from one-dimensional to multidimensional thinking. We explore a subject as opposed to simply competing for the right idea, and we allow a specific time for creativity. What is parallel thinking? It's prompting a people to pool their thinking ideas rather than defending your point of view. So we're moving from an adversarial way of thinking to to a parallel way of thinking. That is the point. The point is, how do we maximize and best utilize the intellectual and emotional capacity of our people? And that's what De Bono methodologies do. So we've got these 6 hats. It's a powerful thinking tool. They're not categories, by the way. And why hats? Because we put hats on. We put different hats on day in and day out. We have a thinking cap that we use day in and day out. We've all heard that probably as a child. But we think there are different roles that we play. What we're really doing here is changing thinking behavior. So the hat represents particular direction for your thinking. We got these 6 hats. Now here's the first of the 6 hats. Information we know. This is the white hat. Information we know. What do we need to know? And where are we going to get what we need to know? That's the essence of the white hat. It's all about information and learning, actually, how to develop a particular expertise in terms of learning to find the right information and where we're going to get that right information. The red hat, feelings, emotions, intuition. It has to do, it's a decision-making tool. We all, however comfortable or uncomfortable we are with feelings are a natural part and parcel of everyday life. And what we've got is a tool set, particularly with the red hat, that says, I like it, or I don't like it. And that's a key factor, that even when people, or some people who are not always comfortable with feelings, talk about, well, I'm not always comfortable with that, you know what you like and you know what you don't like. You know, if you're an IT person, you put the data in the machine and you get data out and you take a look at the data and you say, that's right. Or you put the data in the machine, you get the data out and you look at it and say, that's wrong. That's a quick red hat. So we've got this red hat, it's all about feelings, hunches, and emotions. The yellow hat, the optimistic view, reasons must be given. It's different from the red hat. It's a logical positive hat. Black hat, skeptical view. Some people sometimes call this the devil's advocate hat. It points out potential problems. In many ways, it's the most useful hat. Green hat, this is the new ideation hat. This is the creativity hat. This is the new possibilities hat. This is the alternatives hat and the different way of thinking hat. The blue hat is the managing hat. It helps you manage the thinking process. It's the control hat, organizes thinking, sets the agenda, ensures that the rules are observed, and so on. You got these 6 different hats, and it may be that you find yourself kind of attracted to one or two of these hats. So you might want to ask yourself, which hats do you use most often? You might be the yellow and the green. It could be the white and the black. It could be the red and the black. There are a variety of pieces here, so you might have a natural predisposition. We're not talking about style, we're just talking about your predisposition. So let's, you give yourself a chance to really think about which hats you feel most comfortable with, what dominates your thinking in your own organization, which particular hats are that, what impact does that have? So you may want to begin to ask yourself the question in terms of what impact is this having on our organization in terms of the limitations of particular hats, because what we've got here are 6 thinking hats. And they provide you depth, they provide you breadth, they provide you a wholeness and a whole new sense of comprehensiveness regarding your thinking that you really haven't had before. That really goes back to helping you manage the thinking process. It's a way of helping you manage the 3 stages that the Innovation Suite has provided us. And if you want to talk further about that, give us a call and we'll be glad to do that. Thank you very much.